Universal credit was introduced as a simpler benefit, which is a benefit that enables and encourages people to get into the workplace. We have made a number of changes to the way in which universal credit is operated. Changes have come into place.
What's been the worst part for you?
Not being able to see my son. I can't sit and watch this for much longer, it's horrific. It's come to a point where my child doesn't even know who I am. And all she's asking for is £54 a week.
In 1995 I was in a really, really bad car accident and I was paralysed down the right side. I was blinded in the right eye. The consultants and that said that they would be surprised if I was still walking around in 10 years' time. As it is, 22 years later, I'm still walking around, but it's getting worse and worse every year. I might look all right. It's like they say, don't ever judge someone by what you see. Surely it's better to keep someone working as long as possible, isn't it? Surely it's better to keep people off the benefits and stuff. I'm one of thousands upon thousands of people that have been affected by these cuts. There's people worse off than me. Hands up, I'm not the worst, but I'm gradually getting worse. At one point, eventually I'm not going to be able to walk at all.
How are we going to manage even to get our shopping? All sorts of things. I just don't know how we're going to cope. Really, I don't. That's it for me.
As you can understand, it's very upsetting for Elaine. I'm trying to. They're going to. She's in tears now. That's what they've driven us to.
The Labour government crashed the economy. The Conservative government has come in. More people in work, more people in jobs, more investment.
I mean, it's interesting that the budget did have a line which said we're going to have this long-term future reform, but sadly also included was this slicing off with the personal independence payment, and that was what was highly regrettable. The future reforms are welcome because certainly we need to do better, and I mean, the campaign there won't...
It makes no sense though, because if you're talking about individual cuts, at the moment we've now got disabled people who a few years ago had full active lives, and now they're being offered incontinence pads because they're only allowed 5 toilet helps a day. It makes no sense. But at the moment you have got disabled people in this country, prisoners in their own homes. Prisoners have a panic button and somebody will come.
Slicing off with the personal independence payment, and that was what was highly regrettable.
The government changed things on some of your prescription stuff. So at one point I was having to pay for 4 or 5 medications, and I'm just not buying them anymore. I can't afford it. I've fallen and knocked myself out on the sink. The government are no longer doing the incontinent pants to just doing the pads on prescription, and I can't afford them all the time, so I'm left in wet pants, pull-up pants half the time, which is affecting my health, but also kind of dignity. A housing association also agreed and medically assessing me band A emergency, but they have no accessible housing in the area. Skim, self.
Labour would produce failure for this country once again. It's the Conservatives that are delivering the homes that people need, the economy that people need, and the standard of living that people need.
What are the biggest fears at the moment?
Losing the house.
Losing the kids.
Is that a real prospect?
Losing the house, yes. And obviously if we lose the house,
Then losing the kids does become it.
When you think about barriers to education, hunger as a barrier to education, you don't think England, but sadly that's the case. The children their only hot meal is the food they get at school for 1 in 4 children in the UK. Pretty shocking.
They'll maybe hide in the playground, and as soon as I walk in through the playground I shout, "Good morning, have you had your breakfast?" "No, I haven't got any money." "It's okay, come on." We can tell if a child looks different from one day to the next, so we're vigilant.
The worst is Christmas. I remember sitting with one little boy who told me that I won't have a Christmas dinner. You know, Mum is working shifts, and so she will be in bed all day. My grandma has a drink problem. Dad's left, so I'll spend all day trying to stop Grandma falling down the stairs, and we won't get any presents. After that conversation, I decided I would never feel that way again, and we have present packages for children and food so that they can have a Christmas dinner.
Parents like Jane and Paul, both working minimum wage jobs, raising 2 young children, but struggling to balance the books.
So you're both full-time workers. So how many hours a week are you working then?
I do about 34 and you do about 43.
Absolutely, yeah. So 500 for you and 600 for me. That's about 1,200.
So £1,200 and then so rent is 400.
Yeah.
484 every 4 weeks.
So monthly bills, usually the grand total's around 900.
997.
So that leaves 200 for everything else.
I didn't hear you screaming about 2.5 million people who are parked, nobody saw them for over 10 years, not working, with no hope, no aspiration. We are changing their lives. I'm proud of doing that. Getting them off benefit is what we're going to do.
1,100 people. All right, that's it. I'm afraid our time's up.
It's a condition that you normally see in developing countries where the bones are not forming properly, and it's usually associated with poverty because children are malnourished.
And so you've seen examples in Morecambe of children coming in with rickets.
We are seeing things like rickets. We've seen rickets. We're seeing other conditions, probably quite common back in the Victorian times. We wouldn't expect to see this in a developed nation.
And I don't think the state can do everything. That it tries and it provides a base of welfare that should allow people to make ends meet during the course of the week, but on some occasions that will not work. And to have charitable support given by people voluntarily to support their fellow citizens, I think is rather uplifting and shows what a good, compassionate country we are.
When you've got children filling their pockets with food because they're not able to be fed by their working families, and I must stress that most of these children are in working families, it's a devastating indictment on this government.
It's easy to agree with the principle that people who can work should work. I think what worries us is the number of people who can't work, who are being penalised for not being able to work. The way things are going, I think there's a big gap sometimes in people's awareness of what's going on, and maybe some people feel that we're moving a bit out of recession, things are maybe getting a little better, and there's maybe a lack of willingness to really look at what's happening to people who don't have that feeling that things are getting better, who have the feeling that things are getting considerably worse.
So in the UK, it is right that, more people are visiting, which you'd expect going to food banks, because as the time is tough, as time is tough, as we're all having to pay back this 1.5 trillion debt personally, which spiralled under Labour, as we're all trying to live within our means, change the gear, make sure we're paying back all our debt which happened under them.
One of the problems that comes with child poverty is the stress that is put on the children, because they feel like they have to be the adult in the house, and that puts a great deal of pressure on them, and it's almost robbing them of their childhood. It's really sad to see.
And you're also exploring child poverty.
Here's what Bernardo say about that. They say there's nearly 4 million children in the UK living in poverty. That's a quarter of all children, and 1.7 million of those are living in what is termed severe poverty. That would be an eye-opener for me.
I think that's going to be really eye-opening for the people that watch it, because I don't think people understand that people live in those conditions in this country. And to see, because it's all right hearing statistics. I hate statistics because behind those numbers are those children's stories. Imagine kids those kids were old enough to understand what was going on. I'm talking to Nikki's daughter. Nikki was the one we just saw there. And she just burst into tears after telling me, that normally what happens when she's in front of her friends, if she feels like she's going to cry, she just holds herself and pinches herself as hard as she can, so as the pain becomes dominant. Do you know what I mean? So that stops her. That's almost self-harm, and that's because of the stress that she's watching her mum go through.
How difficult?
Your mum is worried that you might be bottling a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, I try to keep it in because I don't really like people seeing how I feel, because then it's putting them in lots of trouble just to get me settled fine. So really what I do is that during the night I just squeeze onto something. Sometimes during the day I just squeeze onto whatever's near me, and literally helps me better than just keeping it normally. Helps me get my grip. And sometimes you can see me pinching myself just to get myself grip. And I know it's a really bad habit, but I don't know what else to do.
I'm shocked at the impact their living arrangements seem to be having on Kelly. I worry about the effect it's having on her mental health.
It's really upsetting to hear Kelly Louise talk about pinching herself, because if you think about the reason that she said she was doing it, and this is a 10-year-old girl telling me that she pinches herself when she can't handle how she feels emotionally. And we know for a fact that kids who grow up in poverty are much more likely to suffer problems with their mental health. And if that doesn't ring alarm bells, then I don't know what does. You know, to me that sounds, and I might be extreme for saying this, but it doesn't sound that far off of self-harm. You know, I can't tolerate how I feel up here, so I'm going to cause myself pain here to stop me thinking about it, or to stop me crying, or to stop me showing people how I feel. I think that's really, really, really disturbing.
The Social Mobility Action Plan will play an important role in enabling less advantaged young people to get on in life. That's not what I've said, it's what the Sutton Trust have said. And the Sutton Trust have a fine record in helping disadvantaged young people get on in life. And if she wants some other quotes, the Association of Colleges has said the plan sets out an ambitious agenda to tackle long-standing and deep-seated inequalities which the education system struggles to overcome. This is a good plan. It will make a real difference to young people's lives.
Because all of this, everything, you know, and you can see what it stems from, is the living environment.
Yeah.
But all of that is going to have a knock-on effect to his options later on in life.
Exactly, and I worry about that so much. I really worry. I've been told so many times he's really smart, he's really brainy, but he can't be bothered. So I worry that in the future he's not going to have many prospects.
Like, there's been plenty of times when I've been like, oh mum, why are you so poor or something? But like, then when I think back of it, I'm like, sorry mum, like, I didn't really mean to call you poor. Like, mum's just trying to do her best, innit? She's done a lot for us. She's just trying to do her best, really, innit?
You alright, yeah?
John has applied for free school meals twice and been refused on both occasions. So he has to take a packed lunch to school.
The packed lunch is coming from here because we get food from here. Yeah, so he likes noodles, but yeah, he takes noodles to school. Noodles, sometimes rice.
Why do you want a school dinner?
The taste and the fact that it's hot. Yeah.
What's so great about a hot meal?
It just warms you up. Macaroni, cheese, garlic bread, vegetables, chili noodles, definitely. Hot dog roll with chips and sweet corn. Quite nice. Can't wait for the chicken fried rice. Never had it before.
Now that the children are getting a bit older, they are noticing, Mum, why aren't you eating breakfast any of the days? Or why do you wait until last thing at night before you're having something to eat? Because that's often what I'll do. I'll go all day, I won't eat anything, and then last thing at night, just before they're going to bed, once I know that they've had everything that they require for that day, if there's something left, then I'll eat that. And if that's a piece of bread toasted with some butter, that's what I'll have that day.
On Friday, Feeding Birkenhead, which is the most brilliant but ought to be unnecessary organisation, reported a family coming in of husband, wife and young child. The child was crying with hunger. the family was fed. The father said it had been a lucky week for him because neighbours had taken pity and invited him to a funeral so that they could finish off the food after the other funeral guests had been fed. When the little boy was shown the shelf where toys were, but also on that shelf were lunch packs, he chose the lunch pack. This is the background of growing destitution that I see in my constituency and against which we have to judge universal credit and the debate that we are having today.
No government is perfect. No benefit system is perfect. No debate, no motion is perfect. But by God, we work together, we make this better.
I think it's something that a lot of people maybe shun, maybe don't want to see it. They don't want to believe that there is kids in this country who need a hot meal every day. I believe that they oh well, you know, we don't think that exists. It exists everywhere.
It is a growing problem. More families are asking for help, but there is still no UK strategy to deal with it. And still, children are going hungry.
And it's forecast that by the end of this Parliament, 5 million children in this country, the 5th richest country in the world, will be living in poverty. Isn't it true that not only is our economy at breaking point, but for many people, it's already broken as they face up to the poverty imposed by this government?
Can I just say to the Right Honourable Gentleman, yet again, he has failed to mention on student fees. Who was it who introduced tuition fees? It wasn't the Conservative Party, it was the Labour Party that introduced tuition fees. But let's look at what has happened. Let's look at what has happened in our economy. What do we see? Record levels of direct investment in the British economy. Firms investing in this country because they believe in the future of this country. What we also see from the employment figures today, more people in work than ever before. We see more women in work. We see more 16 to 24-year-olds in work or in full-time education than we've seen before. That's what you get with a strong economy. And what do we know? And what do the people know? That the Labour Party, with its high debt, its high taxes, its fewer jobs, Labour Party would only destroy our economy as they did last time. We had to sort it out. The only people who pay the price for the Labour Party are ordinary working families.
For charities tackling poverty in one of the poorest areas in Britain, universal credit is yet another challenge. Daily, they meet the families who simply can't cope.
These people are suffering, and we shouldn't be having that. So people like us need a voice, stand up for everybody and stop it.